Hi there, welcome to Fun with Scratch. My name is Benji, and today we'll be learning how to make a short keyboard game with the beginner concepts that we covered in our first 5 videos. Now, if you're just tuning in, you can make this game with little prior experience with coding. Follow along. So the game we're making today will use the arrow keys, 2 sprites, movement, speech, and loops. Our dog Dot is lost in space and needs to help getting back to her ship. The goal is to get Dot to move up and down, side to side when the keys are clicked. So to begin, we're going to rename our new project and call it Rocket Ship Game. This way it'll save under that name and we can come back to it when we want to. So, to start off, let's add our sprites to the screen. So click Add Sprite button in the bottom right and search space to find Dot and her rocket ship. So this is the Add Sprite button. And then in the search bar, search space to find Dot, add Dot, and then her rocket ship. Perfect. Okay, you can choose different sprites or customize the colors if you want, but we need 2 for the game. Let's also delete the cat sprite. This is our default sprite. We're going to delete this one because we don't need it this time. To add more visuals, let's choose a cool background. You can click the background button in the bottom right corner, this one right here, and then search space to find a nice background for our project. The last thing we'll do before we start writing code is changing the size of Dot and her ship. But first, let's find this background. Space. Oh, let's use this one. Galaxy. Nice. So, again, let's change the size of Dot and her ship to 40 for both. This way, they will be relatively small. There we go. Now let's get coding. Remember, we need to begin by dragging a when flag is clicked block for each sprite. So let's start with Dot. Event when flag is clicked. This is the one we always use to start the code. Go to the rocket ship too. Remember, these 2 are going to be coded separately. So now we have a when flag is clicked block for each sprite. Now let's make sure Dot and her rocket ship start at the same spot on our screen every time. We can do this by using the Go To block under the Motion tab. Let's put Dot starting at the point 0, negative 112, and her rocket ship starting at the point negative 168, 116. So Dot we're going to put at Go To 0, negative 112, and then rocket ship we're going to put at negative 168, 116. Okay, so we also want Dot and her rocket ship to be facing in the same direction every time we run our program. So we can drag the point in direction 90 block under the when flag is clicked block for both of our sprites. So, point in direction 90, drag this down, and then go to Dot as well, point in direction 90. There we go. Before we add commands and loops, let's have Dot explain her zany situation to the player and ask for help. Remember, we can use purple dialog blocks under the Looks tab and orange wait blocks under the Control tab. Let's write a little message for our user. So we're going to have Dot say, drag the say hello for 2 seconds block and have her say, help me get back to the ship. That's going to be the premise. For 2 seconds. And then, once she's done with that, let's have her say, use your arrow keys, but be careful, we're in space. We don't need a wait block this time. Alright. There we go. It's time to program Dot to move. So this game is based on science. Objects in space move on forever until something stops it. So we want Dot to keep moving until she reaches her rocket ship. Let's use the when key pressed block under the Events tab and change it from space to any. So go to Events, when key pressed, change it from space to any. This way, Dot will keep moving no matter which key we press. Under this block, let's put the Repeat Until Loop block from the Control tab. So, go to the Control tab and get repeat until block. Okay. Now we can drag a blue condition from the Sensing tab. So go to Sensing and then use the Touching, drag that one down, and then change this to touching the rocket ship. So now we're almost done with this loop. Let's have dot move just 5 steps. Put move 5 steps in this loop. That's going to be the body of the loop. So what this is going to do is whenever you're pressing any key, dot's going to move until dot is touching the rocket ship, because once dot finds her rocket ship, the game is over. So she's going to move repeatedly 5 steps until she finds her rocket ship. Perfect, but we also want to make sure dot can move in different directions or she'll never catch up to a rocket ship. To do this, we can drag in 4 different when key pressed blocks from the events menu. Let's assign a different arrow key to each of these blocks. So, go to events, and then drag out 4 when key pressed blocks right here. I'm going to move this up. Oops, there we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. You can also duplicate if you want, but I just dragged them all out. Okay, let's assign a different arrow key to each of these blocks. So, we got up arrow, we got down arrow, we got right arrow, and we got left arrow. So now each of these are an arrow. And then let's drag 1 point in direction block from the motion tab for each of these 4 arrow key blocks. So go to the motion tab and get point in direction. So for the right arrow, we're going to use 90 because that's the direction we want the dot to go in when we click the right arrow. Now for the up arrow, guess which one we want. We can actually use this dial to point in the direction that we want. So that's going to point in direction 0, and it shows that this is up. 0 is up. Now we can try the down arrow, change the direction, and use this dial to set it to down. So now when the down arrow is pressed, dot will point down. And then do the exact same for the left arrow, set that to -90. Perfect. This way, dot will point in different directions depending on which arrow key we press. So let's try it out, what we have so far. So right now, oh look, we can move dot around the screen. Well, first of all, she tells us what the instructions are. Help me get back to the ship, use your arrow keys, but be careful, we're in space. So look, we can move dot around the screen using the arrow keys, but watch what happens when we hit the rocket ship. She stops, right? So that's pretty easy. If you like, you can stop here. We finished the game successfully, but if you want to make it more advanced, keep watching. We can make it a little bit harder if we have the rocket ship move around as we're trying to catch it. That's much harder. So, let's head over to the script for the rocket ship. We can start by dragging over a forever loop from the control tab. So, find that forever loop, put it under the one flag is clicked. So, inside of this loop, we're going to add a block that we've never used before. Under the motion section, select glide 1 second to random position. Now, the glide block is just like a move block, except that it lets you change the time that the sprite is moving for, if that makes sense. So in this case, the rocket ship takes 1 second to move to its destination. This way, we have 1 second to move to a random location on the screen. So now, every 1 second, this rocket ship will glide to a random location on this screen. The coordinates will be generated randomly. So, we can try this out right here, see what it looks like. Watch. The rocket ship glides for a second to any random point on the screen, and we can try and catch it with dot, but if you notice, the rocket ship just keeps moving once we catch it. Dot freezes, but the rocket ship keeps moving, so we have to change that. So, what we need is for the rocket ship to stop as well. Let's drag in another when flag is clicked block from the events menu. So go to Events, drag in, I'm just going to stop at when flag is clicked. After that, we can put in a forever loop from the Control tab. Inside of the loop, we'll add a new block. Hold on, let me just grab that forever loop first. So put this in there. And then inside the loop, we'll add a new block that we haven't discussed before. We want the rocket ship to stop if it touches dot. So we use an if-then block under the Control tab. So use that if-then block. So remember when we used a sensing block to put here for dot, we had if touching rocket ship. Since we're on the rocket ship's code now, we're going to add a sensing block, but we're not going to have it touching the rocket ship. We're going to have it be if touching dot. So let's head back to the sensing menu and use the, oops, we just did that. Yeah. So inside of this block, we need to put one final block. Under the Control tab, we can find the Stop All block. And just like the name says, the Stop All block will stop all scripts. So go to Control, and then Stop All. Put that in the body of the code. So now, when the flag is clicked, it will forever be sensing for if the rocket ship is touching dot. And if it is touching dot, then all of the code will stop. So let's try out the game. So dot moves around, right? We can try and catch this rocket ship. There we go. Look, now the whole screen stops. So it looks finished, but you might notice that rocket ship starts moving before dot reads out all the instructions, and we don't want that. So we want to give the player a chance to read out the instructions before the rocket ship moves. So this is a really simple fix. We just have to go and add a wait 4 seconds block before the forever loop with the glide block. So grab a wait 4 seconds block from the Control tab, and then before it glides, or actually, let's see, after it points in the correct direction and before it glides, we're going to add wait 4 seconds. So now, when you press the flag, the rocket ship will go to the correct position, point in the correct direction, and then wait 4 seconds, and then it'll start gliding. So watch what happens now when I click the flag. Dot will read out your instructions, and then the rocket ship will start moving, just like we want. Okay, so congrats, you made your first game. Take a moment to look through your code and identify the different concepts that we've learned over the past few videos. If you have any questions or suggestions, feel free to leave a comment. Thanks for watching Fun with Scratch.